How's everybody doing today? Oh, this was an epic episode of RWBY. A lot of character development. I mean, a lot of character development was in this episode of RWBY. And honestly, I'm enjoying how much writing Rooster Teeth is doing. For instance, they're doing some really excellent writing in Red vs. Blue and RWBY recently, because, I mean, the writing they are showing is just freaking awesome. It really shows that they've improved since the very beginning when RWBY first began, and in this episode, I think this is possibly one of my favorite episodes of RWBY to date. Now, the reason why this is one of my favorite episodes to date is because of the character development and the main topic of discussion of this episode, Oobleck. Now, last week I mentioned Oobleck as his character introduction. Yes, he was introduced a long time ago in the series. I just didn't really remember him really well because he never had a big presence in RWBY, the series. He never had a big presence, so it's kind of easy to forget about these characters that you really just... that don't have much development to them. You just, kind of put them off and you look at the main characters. Well, Oobleck gets a lot of depth and character development in this episode, and it actually brings up a lot of theories I have about his character. But one thing I do want to talk about before I get into him, I want to talk about all our mains. Yang, Blake, Weiss, and RWBY. They get some development. Mainly, Yang, Weiss, and Blake. They get the development, and Oobleck. He gets the development too. RWBY technically just stays RWBY. But still, the character development in this episode, I think, holy god, it was really good. The main question is like, what is your reason for being a huntress? Why do you want to be a huntress? What is your reason to fight? What is your reason to being here? That was the big question that the professor brought up in this episode, and it plays a big role, actually, if you think about it. What is the reason? What is the reason why they have been fighting? What is the reason why they're hunting down the White Fang? What is the reason for wanting to go to this academy? That was actually a very important question that the professor brought up in this episode, and I felt like Rooster Teeth did a damn good job with the introduction of that character development in this episode. It was handled properly, and I feel like the transition between it, they managed to hold a nice good amount of comedy along with serious moments. Now, this episode, honestly, is very dark. It's a very dark episode, actually, if you look at it in different standpoints. Oobleck talks about how Grimm, not all Grimm are mindless. They're not mindless. None of them are just mindless beasts that just go killing at random. There is some Grimm that learn. They are intelligent. They've lived for a very long time. And they wait. They wait. So right there, it shows you that Grimm are not these mindless beings that we have seen thus far from this series. So, there's probably a Grimm way out there, somewhere way out in the world, that is just downright intelligent. Fucking intelligent, like a god-type being that's amazing, but he's so intelligent right now at the moment he doesn't want to mess with humanity. Because from this we find out Grimms technically are intelligent. Now, Oobleck brings up something very intriguing in this episode. He states that this town was destroyed by Grimm, pretty much. And when he looks at this town, his motive, motive to being a huntsman is because he could have saved people. He wants to save people. Not just save people. When he looks at a, broken down, destroyed town in ruins, it seems like wasted lives. Lives that were lost. He wants to change this. He wants to learn from past mistakes, and he wants to get better. He wants to help out future generations be able to combat the Grimm and become stronger. And so, I like the choice of words and dialogue in this episode. For instance, you must learn from your past mistakes, your past history, to be able to never make the same mistake again. And that's exactly what Oobleck actually brings up in this episode. A very deep episode, if you think about it like that. It was a really deep episode that actually just fucking shocked me. It really shocked me with how good this episode of RWBY was. And honestly, I think Oobleck might be one of my favorite characters now. He truly is, because I think my theories about him, of how, he might be extremely strong, could be right. Because, he says that he was in a lot of fights in the past, and he actually foreshadows and hints at past events in his backstory, because he lets on that something tragic happened in the background. Like, for instance, in his past, something really bad happened. Here is me stating a theory. This is just a theory, and it can be easily wrong. But I believe that Oobleck once lived in that town that's destroyed in this episode. He either lived in that town, or he lived in a town a long time ago that was like that, prosperous, and it got destroyed by Grimm. I think he has a tragic past like that, and that is why he's trying to be a huntsman, and why he's trying to be a good huntsman, and why he's trying to learn so much intelligence and train new disciples, is because he doesn't want to see the same thing happening to other people. And most likely, he might have lost his family in the process of this, which makes it even worse on him. Like, his character backstory story gets even more tragic and dark if you think about it like that. So overall, the episode was really good, and I think it was handled properly. Rooster Teeth did a damn good job. CGI wasn't the best. I want to be honest here. The CGI wasn't the best for the majority of this episode. I mean, it was good. I like the fights. The fighting scenes looked really badass, as usual in RWBY, but when it came to certain conversation scenes, like CGI just did not look good. For instance, you saw like clipping with the animation stuff. So either way, great episode. I would give it an 8 out of 10. Tell me your thoughts about this episode. Did you enjoy the character development of RWBY this week? Let me know in the comments below. Love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.